Hey everybody, welcome back to Backlog Banter. Today you just have me, Abram, because I want to give you some very late night impressions on Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, the very long and unfortunately subtitled Fire Emblem game that just got released on Switch. Now, for people who aren't familiar, of course, as you should be, because everyone should know their Fire Emblem lore fucking backwards and forwards, is that Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light was the very first Fire Emblem game released, specifically on Famicom, in 1990, and it never got localized for the West until today, when it got brought over for $6 whole American to Switch's eShop. It's fully translated into English with some other quality of life changes, and I don't think you should buy this game. And there's a couple of reasons I think that. Now, keep in mind, it's 1 in the morning right now, so I played it since midnight, put about an hour into the game. And it's just a lot about it feels icky to me, and some of it just feels really antiquated in other respects. I want to talk first about the game itself before I talk about the larger context. I really love retro gaming, and I love not only experiencing the gems of that time, but I love looking at franchises I enjoy in the modern landscape and seeing where they came from and seeing the different experiences and the way those franchises evolve, right? And I love Fire Emblem. Modern Fire Emblem started with Awakening, and since then I've really enjoyed the games, particularly, of course, Awakening and Three Houses. Excellent games. So, considering I've really been on a NES bender recently, playing Ninja Gaiden, playing Gradius, playing all kinds of stuff, I was super excited to go back to the original Fire Emblem in this new translated, updated format and see how I enjoyed it. And the fact of the matter is, I didn't enjoy the time I've played so far. And a lot of that is due to the fact that I just don't think that, from a modern perspective, there's a compelling experience buried in Shadow Dragon. Fire Emblem has just moved so far away from where this game is in a lot of different respects, and to completely remove the more JRPG anime aspects from it, just from a pure gameplay perspective, what's here in Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon just lacks so much quality of life that I don't think it's fun. And okay, there are quality of life features added specifically by this version, a speed up, a rewind. There are options here, but they don't fix the intrinsic lack of quality of life within the game itself. There's a lot of problems with this. I think a lot of them stem from the fact that it's hard to tell how much damage you're going to deal versus how much you're going to take from enemy fights. It's very hard to tell how far you can move. If you dig through menus, you can get some basic ideas, but the calculations aren't going to factor in terrain. They're not going to factor in the weapons triangle. You're not going to be able to hover over an enemy with one of your units as you can in the modern games and see like, oh, okay, I'm going to deal X amount, they're going to deal Y amount, I've got X chance to hit, they've got X chance to hit. This information is presented sometimes retroactively to the player, sometimes when it's already too late to back out of a fight, sometimes you can make some educated guesses, but it's not presented in a way that makes it compelling. At the same time, the units all just look so similar. Information gets lost in the shuffle. I feel like I should have like a pocket calculator and a notepad next to me when I'm playing this game, and that's just not fun. Like I said, you gotta historically contextualize, but I think that the best games of that era, of a modern era, of any era, are ones that transcend its time, right? A game like Ninja Gaiden is very flawed and has a lot of intrinsic design decisions that are emblematic of that era, but its strengths outweigh those. For me, going back and playing Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon was a look at how far we've progressed, but the fact that that nugget of gameplay is the same, and that this experience is just a much worse, much less intelligible version of what we have now. There's a novelty to it, sure, and I think that novelty is important, and I think having the historical context allows you to better appreciate what we have now with Three Houses, and what Awakening did to revitalize the franchise. So I think having that context is important, but this isn't the package to get the context from. Not only because I don't think the game is great from a modern perspective, but because Nintendo should not be charging for this. I think that Nintendo's business practices in a lot of different respects, limited time releases, their handling of Joy-Con drift, various things in 2020 have felt scummy, and what hasn't felt scummy has felt low effort. 3D All-Stars, right? So to have this game release for $6, 3 months before it's going to be delisted, feels really gross to me. And now $6 is a very small sum of money. You probably have enough gold points kicking around your eShop account right now to just download it, but you shouldn't have to. Um, this is especially true in a post-Switch firmware 11.0 update world, where Nintendo Switch Online is being brought to the forefront, and its blatant shortcomings are being put out on a big display. You open up the little subsection on the bottom of your menu, that bright red icon that I don't mind the way that other people do. And you go to the special offers tab, and you got 100 gem apples for Kirby whatever it is, fighters, Clash of Kirby clans, whatever it is. I never played it, but 100 gem apples, some random downloadable content in other games. It's not exciting, is the bottom line. The bottom line is that what you have for special offers on NSO does not come anywhere close to justifying, the service. And of course, there's more facets to it, right? Your online that works only when it wants to, and the NES and SNES libraries, which of course are the reason to subscribe to the service, in my opinion. But even those are lacking. We used to get regular content drops with new refreshes. Now they're very infrequent, and sometimes we get really cool games. We get DKC2, we get some Japanese stuff brought over. Your Panel-de-Pons, your Mario Picross S's. But it feels like Nintendo's drip feeding us content, and it feels like in the context of this larger service apparatus, that it's kind of a weak offering. And something like having an English version of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light in that service adds value, and that's what NSO needs right now. So this would have made a lot of sense to put in there, and make people feel like their money is being justified when they're spending, that yearly sum on NSO, even if it's not particularly high. I'm not personally comfortable saying, hey Nintendo, you got a lackluster service, but at least you're not charging me that much money, so I'll just look the other way, right? I would prefer an NSO environment where it cost more and it had more value. But right now, I don't even think we should entertain a price hike until there's enough value to get us there. And I think something like this would have helped. Especially because the Japanese version of this game is already available on the Famicom Online app. Sure, costs and resources go into localizing and updating the game for a Western audience, but in the context of Nintendo's business practices this year, in the context of the lacking NSO environment, this should have been in NSO to add value, and it's not. And because of that, it becomes a lot harder to overlook its gameplay problems in the ways that it doesn't function the way you would hope a game would in a 2020 landscape. You feel like you're paying for something that's not worth the price and that should have been included in NSO. And that's kind of how I'm feeling. I really don't have much intention of playing more of Shadow Dragon and the Binding Blade, the Blade of... Pardon me, it's fucking 1:13 in the morning, bro. That subtitle's gonna kill a man. But I don't have much reason to go back to it, just because I think I understand now what original Fire Emblem was. I'm not seeing an experience that, is going to justify experiencing this in parallel to modern Fire Emblem at the same time. I think the business practices around it are a little bit yucky. In closing, I'm going to be writing a piece for CBR about this game, tips and tricks for new players. One of those tricks is going to be, don't play this game, play a different Fire Emblem. I'm not kidding about that. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it. Be sure to like the video and subscribe, or dislike the video and don't subscribe. But if you don't subscribe, be sure to at least dislike so we get engagement. That's really what I care about. I want engagement on this video, positive or negative. I can take it. I'm a big boy. But I'm going to get out of your hair. It's been about 9 minutes. I think that's plenty. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments. It doesn't even have to be about Fire Emblem. Just what are you thinking in general? Are you thinking about the stuff that animals my background? I don't know. I'll get out of here, though. See ya.